again, there is no reason why we can't come to a deal. But you have another side that doesn't care about border security. The Democrats, which I've been saying all along, they don't give a damn about crime. They don't care about crime. They don't care about gang members coming in and stabbing people and cutting people up. They don't care about crime. And if they're not going to care about crime, then I agree. They shouldn't do anything at the border. But I care about crime, and I care about drugs. We're spending a fortune on trying to stop drugs, and they pour in through the border. But I see it more now than ever before. The Democrats don't care about the border, and they don't care about crime. Say it.
This emergency on the border, this crisis, when did it begin?
Oh, it began a long time. Ask President Obama. Obama used to call it a crisis at the border, too.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%.
I think he said it in 2014. Look, you can all play cute, and I'd say 80% of you are possibly in coordination with the opposition party. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous.
President Trump must stop holding the American people hostage, must stop manufacturing a crisis.
This president just used the backdrop of the Oval Office to manufacture a crisis.
Folks, the president has manufactured one heck of a political crisis for himself.
Donald Trump is manufacturing a national security crisis.
You will hear them say is that this is a manufactured crisis. It's not a national security crisis.
The big scam.
And the fact is, President Trump must stop holding the American people hostage, must stop manufacturing.
You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it.
Big scam of the whole address.
I'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this.
That there's a crisis. There's not a crisis.
The notion that we have a crisis there, security crisis, is absolute nonsense.
It remains a Seinfeld shutdown,
Seinfeld presidency.
all about nothing.
What happens when there is a real crisis, when there is a real emergency? Does he take to the airwaves? Do we give him the airwaves? Do we believe him?
So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Thank you.
There's not a crisis at the border. It's a manufactured crisis for the president to get a political win.
He's determined to convince you there is a crisis at the border, even though an intelligence official tells CNN, quote, no one is saying this is a crisis except them.
It looks pretty brutal. This is not a manufactured deal, as you said. This is the real stuff. And this is nothing compared to what they have. This is actually nothing compared to what they have. So is somebody going to be able to explain this to us quickly?
Good. Carlos.
Good. Carlos, please, go ahead. Please. Thank you.
President,
thank you.
Texas,
thank you, Carlos.
I am the port director for Hidalgo San Luis Port of Entry.
Good.
Before here, you see some narcotics that have been seized by the men and women of CBP. As you can see right here, the two tables to my far right and left here, these are 117 kilograms of methamphetamine and 12 kilograms of heroin that were seized in a commercial conveyance that was making entry at the port of entry. Officers noticed some discrepancies. The conveyance was referred to X-ray technology, and it was during the exam, they were able to identify anomalies within the conveyance. With the use of our canine detector dogs, we were able to seize this merchandise. Right here at this particular one, these are fire extinguishers. These fire extinguishers were intercepted at the port of Progreso, Texas. It was a male that was driving into the United States, and the two fire extinguishers were used in the importation of methamphetamine and heroin, 100 grams of heroin and 8 keys of methamphetamine as well. Also, we have some weapons that were seized at our ports of entry, also with the assistance of our federal partners and state partners as well. So we have 3 Colt handguns that are gold-plated, encrusted with diamonds. Those were seized at the Laredo port of entry. You have an AR-15 that was seized with the assistance of our state and local partners with the task force officers. You have an AK-47 that was seized by the officers at the Hidalgo port of entry going southbound. During the southbound inspection, there was nervous behavior that was displayed by the driver. Subsequently, the officers were able to find the AK-47 hidden in the back seat. You also have a 50 caliber rifle. During the inspection of the port of entry, officers with the use of NII equipment or X-rays were able to detect a compartment. That compartment was found with the assistance of our Homeland Security investigative partners and Air Marine. There was a surveillance that was conducted on the vehicle when it went to a undisclosed location. From that location, a traffic stop was conducted and the 50 caliber rifle was found, sir. Now, these 3 guns that you see are gold-plated handguns and with diamonds impressed.
Okay, I think that says it all. This is just all recent. This is all very recent.
Good morning, Mr. President.
They didn't have to go very far. This is all very recent. The buck stops with everybody. They could solve this problem in literally 15 minutes. We could be back. We could have border security. They could stop this problem in 15 minutes if they wanted to. I really believe now that they don't want to. I really believe that. I really believe that they don't care about crime. I really believe this. The Democrats don't care about crime. They've been taken over by a group of young people who, frankly, in some cases I've been watching, I actually think they're crazy.
Women and children on that border that are trying to seek refuge and seek opportunity in the United States of America with nothing but the shirt on their backs are acting more American than any person who seeks to keep them out. A child died in ICE custody. The president should not be asking for more money to an agency that has systematically violated human rights. The president should be really defending why we are funding such an agency at all. Because right now what we are seeing is death. Right now what we are seeing is the violation of human rights. These children and these families are being held in what are called hieleras, which are basically freezing boxes that no person should be maintained in. This is systematic, it is wrong, and it is anti-American.
I actually think they're crazy, but they've been taken over by a group that's so far left. I really don't think they care about crime. And, you know, sadly, they're viewing this as the beginning of the 2020 presidential race, and that's okay with me. But they have been taken over by a group of people that don't care about gangs, they don't care about human trafficking and drugs, they don't care about anything. I'll tell you what, they have gone crazy.
It's not a crisis at the border. It's a manufactured crisis for the president to get a political win.
He's determined to convince you there is a crisis at the border, even though an intelligence official tells CNN, quote, no one is saying this is a crisis except them.
Includes individuals from India, Pakistan, China, Romania, Ecuador, Nicaragua, on and on and on. And so I know we keep talking about the family units and unaccompanied children, and that makes up about typically about 60–70%. We've seen a change over the last couple of weeks where that number is less than 50% of the apprehensions we make here in South Texas. So South Texas continues to lead the country in apprehensions as well as marijuana seizures in between the ports of entry. And so CBP and DHS are committed to both our border security mission as well as our humanitarian mission. Mr. President, Senators, we couldn't do it without your support. We really appreciate you coming down here. It means an awful lot to the men and women of DHS, CBP, the Border Patrol, our local law enforcement community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So they apprehended people from the Middle East, and they do it all the time. You know, everybody says, well, where are they from? We're not talking about only Mexico. All over the world they come in because it's a weak spot. They make it strong, but the laws have to be strong, and we need security. We need the kind of backup that you want. And they've asked, by the way, we have lists of things. What they need more than anything is the barrier, the wall, call it whatever you want. whether it's steel or concrete, you don't care. We need a barrier. And they have done a fantastic job. Never so many apprehensions ever in our history. But, you know, it could be a lot easier. It could be a lot easier for you. And you could spread your people out to a lot different areas, which would also be very helpful.
And Mr. President, we have 55 miles of fencing in this sector. We started a job in 2006. We need to finish that job. We've got the personnel, we need the technology, we need the resources, we need the infrastructure in order to control this border and manage it. Part of our area is covered with some fencing on our east side. That accounts for about 6% of our traffic. Where we have no fencing, over 90% of our traffic occurs in those areas.
Okay, folks, I mean, you don't have to say any more. That's it. That's it. And we never even spoke before this, right? I never told you to say that.
No, sir.
I should have, except he said it perfectly, all right? Look, this is common sense. They need a barrier. They need a wall. If you don't have it, it's going to be nothing but hard work and grueling problems. And by the way, and death. A lot of death. I want to thank you. You do a fantastic job.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that.
It's really good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
After what you saw today, what happened late yesterday, how much closer are you at this point to declaring an action?
Well, we can declare a national emergency. We shouldn't have to, because this is just common sense. You know, you were at the last meeting where we saw people who, like, as you know, Reggie Singh's brother. Reggie, I got to know him today a little bit. This shouldn't be happening in our country. This shouldn't be happening. And what you see on the border, that's not as much of a problem as they come through the border and they go out throughout our nation. So you'll have crime in Iowa, you'll have crime in New Hampshire, you'll have crime in New York, you'll have crime in places, you know, you don't associate it with the border, but it comes through the border. Tremendous amounts. And as hard as we work and as well as we're doing nationwide on crime, a lot of it's caused by people that come in through the southern border. So, and you know, if we had the barrier, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. They could have fewer people. They could put people other places instead of having everyone concentrated right here. And it's all common sense. And Nancy and Chuck know that. And look, they're not winning this argument. They're losing the argument badly. They know it. And it's not about an argument. And it's not about politics for me. It's about doing the right thing. I mean, I could do a lot easier things. I could just forget this like everyone else did. This should have been done 30 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 5 years ago. I could have done like everyone else, just sort of say, hey, forget it. A lot of the crime in our country is caused by what's coming through here. And they're not given a full hand because they need the barriers. If they don't have the barriers, and you just said it better than anybody could say it, where we have a good, strong barrier, you don't have problems. Now, the problem is they go to the barrier, that's it, but now they go around the barrier. So when you fill up the gaps, it's going to be a much different day.
Just to clarify, Sharon, are you closer to declaring an emergency?
We are. I would like to look at broader. I think we can do this quickly because this is common sense.